Hello, beautiful humans. I'm reporting love from Vietnam today, and I wanted to go deeper with you on a topic that is very important to the women in our part of the world, which is the topic of tradition. Now, I'm here in Vietnam, and I was talking to our guide who shared with us a story about how the traditions here in Vietnam have been applied and imposed on the younger generation. For example, one of the big traditions here is that the son and his family live with the parents. So the way their homes are structured is each part of the family gets a floor, which is actually a bedroom, and they all share the living room and the kitchen on different floors. Now, what that means for all the people of the generations under, it's okay, thank you, hello, under the grandparents, the family, is that they all live together clustered in a small space, with the hierarchy being the grandparents are kind of the rulers of the house, which means there's no independence, there's no privacy. She was saying how even in her bedroom she lives with, and this is a wealthy family, right? They're not poor demographics. She's living and her son lives in the same room. And on her honeymoon, the mother-in-law joined. And when we asked her, why is this? Why don't you say no? Why don't you put boundaries? Her answer was, because tradition. This is how we do things. Now, I don't have anything against tradition. I think one of the most beautiful things we can preserve and celebrate are some of our cultural traditions and heritage, our music, our stories, our ancient connections. But I think what we need to recognize that it's so important is that, as with everything else, there are some aspects of tradition that are really helpful and supportive and that we want to honor. And there are other aspects that are, shall we call them, the shadow of tradition. And it's very important for us as a new generation to question these traditions, to see and choose which ones we want to hold that really reflect an aspect of our own identity, of our own values, of our own boundaries and desires for who we want to be, and which aspects don't actually reflect this part of us. And in a deep way, this is an important aspect of what we call critical thinking, which means not taking things at face value. We've been told it's this way, we've been told it's that way, you have to behave this way, this is how it is, this is how we are, this is who we are. You don't have to take those statements at face value. You can explore, respond, think, feel, and your feelings will always tell you if this is something you want to subscribe to. Just like you subscribe to my channel, you felt a piece of content, an information, a message, a vibration, a frequency, and you said yes. And you might go to someone else's channel and feel like, oh no, I don't want to follow this. I don't want to dive deeper into this space. So why do we not do the same with tradition? Why do we not question the boundaries that have been imposed on us as women? Why do we not question the context that has been imposed on us as people? And of course, every country in the Middle East has different traditions. Every family sometimes has different traditions, and that's beautiful. And like I said, some of these traditions are so beautiful, like the thobes and the dresses and the very meticulous tradition of hand weaving and the Bedouins' connection to the land. And there's so much to take in and be proud of from our culture and from our traditions. But copy-pasting culture as though culture was a religion, that becomes problematic. That becomes limiting, because culture is supposed to be a constantly evolving narrative. That's why artists are important, writers are important. Why do we read books by people who lived 100 years ago or watch films that were created 50 years ago? Because all these forms of arts are a form of creating a new culture, are a form of telling a new story. Now, in the 1920s, a group of beautiful poets and rogues and travelers lived, and they created a whole culture around the 1920s poetry and literature and novels. The Great Gatsby, Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, all these people were people who created a culture because they created a new narrative after World War I failed them. They saw that the precedents and the customs and the story that the generation before them had told, and I apologize for my hand shaking, but I don't have a selfie stick with me, was not matching who they felt they were as a new generation. So I want to remind you that you have that power to reclaim what your generation wants to stand for, what your species as a woman wants to stand for. Do you want to stand for the things that have been imposed on you or not? Because you always have a choice. A lot of people say, oh, but that's the way things are. Just like the tour guide said, she said, that's the way things are. It's tradition. What can I do about it? And I'm always thinking, of course, there's always something you can do about it. There's always something we can do, because that's our power, to respond, to say no to things that do not match our frequencies, and to say yes to the things that really speak out our soul's truth. And that takes courage. That's why courage is so important in the world we live in today. It takes courage to say no to the way things have been operating. It takes courage to say no to a power that sometimes runs lineages deep, generations deep. Maybe 10 generations have subscribed to that same dogma, that same belief, that same structure, that same tradition. And yet has that tradition fueled love and community and respect and individuality and freedom and all the highest values of our highest self? Or have these dogmas prescribed limitation, fear, oppression, suppression? And eventually, what kind of structure do you want to create for your family, for your life, for your community? Because if you're here on this channel, you're a leader. Something inside you says, this is not the way things are meant to be. That's what an awakened woman is. She's a leader, first in her own life, and saying yes and no to the things that match and do not match her frequency. And then in terms of her responsibility to her community, to the people who come to her looking for support, for guidance. And in the most beautiful way, your imprint is calculated by what you activate in others. So do you activate fear in others or liberation in others? Do you remind people that they are free? Because eventually you are free. The chains exist in your mind. The prison exists in your own mind. I remember when I was young, I used to always feel like, oh, my parents are trapping me. Oh, I'm not free. And then I realized that's not true. Nobody can take my freedom away. And some of the traditions that really troubled me in our part of the world, I started to question. Because I lived abroad in many different countries. I lived on 5 different continents growing up. Maybe this is something about me you didn't know. And so I saw people from all walks of life, from all cultures and traditions, from Asia to America to Europe to Africa. Literally every single continent. And I realized every place is different. So that means not one thing is right or wrong. That means every people can decide and every person can decide. And where I went to college in London and in New York, and then I came back to Jordan, and suddenly my parents were telling me, you cannot live alone. You cannot go out after a specific time, etc., etc. I was questioning, am I a child that somebody can impose those rules on? Or am I a free woman? And of course, I was challenging the culture, and I was challenging myself and the parts of me that agreed with the culture, that agreed in a certain hierarchy of being. And so once you start to question, there comes a moment where everything breaks down. It's almost scary. Like the people who you saw as the people who knew everything about your life, about life in general, your mother, your father, your teachers. You can still respect them, but you don't have to put them on a pedestal. In a pedestal where they get to decide what is right and what is wrong. Why can't a woman live on her own? I really struggled with that question. What are the neighbors going to say? What are people going to say? the honor of the family, this, that. These are very big, energetically charged topics that it is our duty to challenge if you're a freedom fighter. Now, if you're on this channel and watching this video this far and you're not a freedom fighter, probably you're in the wrong place. But here's the thing, there's another place where you can go, in another channel, and you'll find people who align with what you believe in. And the key here is to find communities that align with what you believe in. And rather than believe in living alone or not believe in living alone, what I stand by here is freedom for you to choose what is right for you. In the same way, that's what I would have wished from my leaders, my parents, my guides, my teachers, to empower me to choose for myself what is right for me. And that is how I'd like to lead or guide my own children. For them to discover, to experiment, to play, and not to just follow the orders as though we were slaves. I'm not a slave. I don't know about you, but I really struggled with people telling me what to do and who to be and how to be and where it's okay to be what. Because my soul is free, and in the same way my soul is free, my human self also wants to embody that soul freedom. And I'm sure you feel the same. But again, it takes courage to dive into that rabbit hole. Not to fight the system, because we've fought enough. And fighting, like revenge, is an endless loop. It feeds itself and it just regenerates the same cycle of pain and suffering. We don't want to fight the system. We want to undo the chains that we've internalized in our own minds and our own hearts. To question. To peacefully resist. To choose differently, to choose freedom, to value freedom, to discover what it is you value. Maybe it's freedom, maybe it's tradition. And if that's what you find you want to stand for, you are more than welcome to stand for that. But make sure it is truly what you want to stand for, from deep inside you. That's all I ask you. And this is a journey. This is a process that every woman has to go on. That's how you become the heroine of your own story. You are moved from something deep inside you. And those are the women that I welcome into the Awakened Woman community with all my heart. And it's a great honor for me to be here with you today, truly. It's a great privilege to be able to share my thoughts, my ideas, and my love with you. And one of the invitations I felt recently is to share more, to meet more with you, to have more conversations, more journeys. And that's why I created the Inner Circle membership. For all the women who feel they want more, who want to dive deeper, who want to meet on a regular basis and meet other like-minded women, this is a platform that I created for those who want more. Now, you might be fully satisfied with this video, and I'm so happy to have you here with me. And you might be one of the women who want more. And those who feel called to dive deeper into these feminine ways and to liberate themselves, to live a life of freedom. That takes deep work, that takes action, that takes the support of community. So if you're interested, click the link below. Every single month we will meet for a 2-hour call. You will meet other like-minded women. You will be challenged to think, to feel, to journey, to taste the sweet, sweet nectar of being alive. And you might stay in this community for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. You might stay in it for longer. You might stay in it for shorter. This is not about another prison. We've had enough of those. This is about a space for liberation. You can come and join us for as long as feels natural to your soul. And as long as this space nourishes you on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level, I love to have you with me. I love to meet with you every month and to discover more of what we can create together as a community of awakened women. So for now, I send you my love. I send you all the beautiful vibrations from this really special place, Vietnam, where I'm currently traveling. I send you my love. I love to hear your comments below. Leave them. What do you think about this? Are you triggered? Are you challenged? Do you love it? Do you wish someone had said this a long time ago? I love to hear from you, and I hope to see you on the 21st. Boom! Yeah, take that. Here's the beautiful view. And see you soon, my loves. Bye-bye. Oh, one more thing. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, Go for it. You know you want to.